Hello and welcome to Written Words. Today we're starting a new theme. The theme for this month is writing essays. So whether you're a student at school or university, or whether you do informative writing for work or pleasure, hopefully you will find something useful in these videos. In today's video, we're going to talk about the basics of essay writing. What is an essay? What are they for? And how do we set about writing one? If you know French, you will know that the word essayer means to try. And our word essay came from the Old French. The original meaning was to test something or try something out. So when you write an essay, it's testing your knowledge. It's trying out your ability to interpret that knowledge. So the point of an essay is to prove not just what you know, but how you can interpret that knowledge to form logical conclusions and rational opinions. In maths lessons, teachers always encourage their students to show their workings out. You don't just write the answer, you show how you reached that answer. And even if your final answer turns out to be wrong, you may get some credit if you'd gone the right way about finding that answer, even if you miscalculated it at the final stage. And it works the same way for essay writing. It's all very well to present facts, but you need in your essay to show that you understand the significance of those facts, that you can evaluate them. And it's all very well to give your opinion, but in an essay you need to say why you have formed that opinion. What made you reach those conclusions? So when you're about to write an essay, the first thing you need to do is accumulate information. You need to know your subject very well. You need to understand what it is that you're about to write about. Depending what the subject is that you're writing about, you will need to read about that subject. If your essay is about literature, you will need to read the literary work that you're talking about. If it's about history, you will need to familiarise yourself with the appropriate historical documents and artefacts. If you can, you should talk to experts in the subject, or visit museums, or watch documentaries on the subject that you want to write about. And as you're collecting all that information, you should make notes. Lots and lots of notes, so that you have plenty of material to rely on while you're writing the actual essay. For some people, those notes may be immaculately presented and artistic and colour-coded, or you may be like me and your notes are completely chaotic, but you need to have plenty of information before you start writing your essay. When you think you've accumulated enough information and you've thought deeply about that information and what it means to you, then you're ready to start your essay. And the first thing you need to do is to plan your structure. Structure is very important in all kinds of writing, not just essay writing. But in essay writing, it is particularly important. If your writing has a logical structure, it makes it much easier to understand. It makes it easier for the reader to follow where you're heading with your argument. It makes it easier to understand what you're trying to say. I remember from back in primary school, English teachers telling us, when you write a story or an essay, your writing needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that is very true for essay writing. The beginning, the middle, and the end won't be equal in length, but they must be present to give your writing structure. A similar structure exists in music. If you think about songs and how they are structured, there is usually an introduction at the beginning that's just instrumental before the singer starts singing. Then the singer sings and that's the main body of the song. But very often at the end of the song, when the singer stops singing, there is a bit more music to finish off. And it's the same with essay writing. You need an introduction, you need a main body of the essay, and then you need a conclusion at the end. To put it in very simple terms, when you write an essay, you tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. So what does that mean in practice? The introduction is the first part of your essay. In your introduction, you need to set out what your aims are for the essay. What are you trying to prove, and what methods are you going to use to do that? What are you trying to examine, and how are you going to examine it? Then the main body of the essay is, of course, the biggest part of the essay, and it needs to be organized in logical paragraphs. Each paragraph should focus on a particular piece of information or idea. First of all, you present the information, then you evaluate it, you think about it, you weigh it up, and you work out what its significance is, and you also back it up with evidence. In the same way as a detective solving a crime can't just say that person is the criminal. They have to provide evidence. They have to prove why they think that person is the criminal. You can't just send someone to prison because you think they committed the crime. You have to prove it. You have to find evidence to prove that they did it. And it's the same in an essay. If you're writing this essay for school or university, the person marking the essay will be looking to see whether you have backed up your arguments. So if you're writing an essay about literature, for example, you will need to provide quotes from the piece of literature you're talking about that show what it is you're trying to say. Or perhaps a quote from some kind of critical work that you've read about that text. If you are writing an essay about history, you will need to back your arguments up with reference to historical documents, academic texts, artifacts, and so on. So the main body of your essay will contain a number of paragraphs, each paragraph focused on a particular piece of information or idea. It's also a good idea to present arguments on both sides. Here is what I think, and this is why I think it, but there are other people who think this, and this is why they might think that. So the most important thing to remember for the body of your essay is information, evaluation, proof. And then at the end, there is the conclusion. In the conclusion, you need to make it clear what the main point of your essay was. What have you been driving at all the way through? What have you hopefully proved with all the arguments and information that you have presented? What is your final conclusion? If you don't have a conclusion in your essay, you leave the reader dangling. They're not sure what the point of the essay was. Yes, there were some interesting arguments. Yes, there was some interesting information. But what was the point of it? What were you trying to say? So you need a conclusion to tie things off at the end and finish off the structure. So that's the bare bones of essay writing. Those are the general things you need to think about when you're writing an essay. Of course, the content of the essay will vary enormously depending on what the subject is you're writing about. So this video has been very theoretical in nature. My next video will be more practical. In my next video, I'm actually going to write an essay so that we can see how the ideas in this video actually work in practice. Are you working on any essays at the moment? And if so, what are they about? Feel free to let me know what you're writing about in the comments below. I'd love to hear what other people are writing about too. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And in the meantime, happy writing.